Hey everyone, it is Hunter Fireflower, and I am here to discuss the new Star Wars movie, Rise of Skywalker. It is the last movie in the new trilogy, and honestly, thank God that it is over. This video will contain major spoilers, so if you're not seen the movie yet, I suggest you watch at your own risk. If you want my thoughts on a scene that I do not discuss, please just leave a comment and I'll respond to it. So without further ado, let's begin. Let's first begin with what I personally think Rise of Skywalker was doing in trying to fix what occurred in the previous movie, which is The Last Jedi. The Finn and Rose romance is completely gone, which was the cringiest romance ever, for my personal opinion, but it was strange not seeing them both together in the film since we saw them all last film. This is explained in the book Star Wars Resistance Reborn, and it basically tells that Rose fell in love with Finn as a spur of the moment, and that it wasn't really like true love. I guess she had like the hots for him, and once she got him, she realized that it was a terrible idea and she wasn't really into him. It's kind of confusing. Another scene that you can kind of tell they're trying to jab at The Last Jedi was the scene where Rey was throwing a fit and she was going to throw her lightsaber into the fire when Luke, as a Force ghost, stops the lightsaber and says, "That is no way to treat a Jedi weapon." It's basically a slap in the face of Rian Johnson, who is the director of the last movie, because in that film, Luke just throws away his own lightsaber over his shoulder at the beginning of the film, which was not even in his character. It just felt very strange to watch that. So I feel like this particular scene in Rise of Skywalker is basically rectifying that error that was made in the previous film. Another thing that was brought back since The Last Jedi was Kylo's helmet. In The Last Jedi, he destroys it after Snoke tells him to take that ridiculous thing off or whatever. But I guess in Rise of Skywalker, he was just like, screw it, I'm just gonna bring it back. I feel like the helmet is like kind of meant to represent him trying to be like Darth Vader, and him destroying it was supposed to symbolize that he was gonna not follow the steps of his grandfather and be his own man, but I guess they're just gonna bring it back. So that really destroyed any symbolism of what that mask was supposed to be in the first place, but whatever. Lastly, one thing that irked me throughout the entire film was that it was trying to erase what occurred in the previous film, with Rey's parents basically being nobody. Like, we're basically shoved down our throat that Rey's parents are nobody, they're not important, they're just scavengers or whatever, and it just doesn't flow throughout the Rise of Skywalker, because it's kind of saying, hey, you know what happened in like the previous film? Well, just forget about it, because in this film, her parents are like the daughter, not the daughter, but I think the son of Palpatine. So like by default, that automatically makes her parents somebody, because they're the son of the most powerful person in the galaxy. And it, like, you can just tell that they're trying to like be like, hey, like shove that under the, the rug. That didn't actually happen, but like it kind of did. So this film is just trying to say like, yeah, her parents are still kind of nobodies, but like they kind of are somebody. It just does not flow. However, having these things that clearly make no sense, there were several parts I did enjoy, and I could tell we're trying to please the true fans of the series. So first off, the Sith Wayfinder, which just looks like a Sith holocron, and the Sith Dagger I thought were both super cool and will probably be explained in a future book or comic or whatever. And I thought the incorporation of requiring to read the Sith language off the dagger just gave it kind of a feeling of a mystery. If cities had the dagger made, does that mean that there's still like a sect of people that still read actual ancient Sith? Is it like those weird like ape-looking people on the planet, type of thing? And also, I want to know, like, why the dagger was made in the first place, and why did that one guy have to kill Rey's parents with it? Like, couldn't he have just used a blaster? Whatever, I guess. I also really like the giant Sith statues that you saw in Sidious's place when they're wandering around, like, Palpatine's lair. I thought that was super cool. It kind of gave me the vibe of, like, the ancient Sith temples on Korriban. Another part that was influenced by the comics and the books was the Palpatine cloning facility thing. I thought this scene was probably very confusing for a normal audience member, because you would be saying, wait a second, that guy was killed like 4 movies ago, or 3 movies ago. How is he back? However, for, someone that has read the Star Wars books and comics would probably know that this is kind of a theme throughout a lot of the books. How he had these cloning facilities made so that if his body was to die, he could like send his life force to another body and he could continue being the Emperor. I think it's kind of like lazy writing, but at the same time, I kind of liked it. One of my favorite scenes was the one where we revealed that Leia was being trained to become a Jedi by Luke. This was discussed in the books, the comics, the games, and Leia is actually Force sensitive and trained to become a Jedi. I guess this explains the whole explosion scene in The Last Jedi, but I feel like that was kind of shitty. In addition, when Rey takes Luke and Leia's lightsabers to kill Palpatine, I feel like it's kind of like a touch to the audience to show that Luke and Leia were Rey's real parents and she's coming of age, give her the lightsaber and so she could save the planet like they did or save the galaxy like she did. One major difference I found in this film compared to the other two is I felt like Kylo and Rey were on the same page in terms of power. Whereas the first two films, Rey was like a Mary Sue and she was just like unlimited power. But then I feel like this film, it kind of set the stage even for both of them. I felt they also tried to make Kylo more of a dark side feeling for the first half of the movie. He's just killing people and choking people in the First Order. And then his redemption to the light side was super fast. That boy was boom, light side so fast. I get they're basically trying to shove two movies into one movie, so I feel like his actual redemption to the light side was rushed, and I want to just say that's because The Last Jedi literally did not extend the plot at all. It kind of just fell flat, and I feel like if they had this for if they had this theme going on throughout 3 films, I feel like it would have been so much better of his redemption to the light side. But every film, it was oh, Kylo's dark side again, Kylo's dark side, and then all of a sudden he's light side, it doesn't really flow at all. I also thought Commander Pride was a must-needed antagonist in the First Order, besides Kylo. I mean, they had Commander Hux, but I felt like Hux was kind of this whiny child. I felt like they needed an older, stronger character that's not afraid to get his hands dirty. I feel like Captain Phasma should have filled this role, but she got butchered in the last film, so I guess, bye Felicia. Even though she's a really cool character and they destroyed her. They should have just kept her. I also did like the scene with him talking to Palpatine. It reminded me of the scene where Darth Vader talks to Palpatine and he's kneeling. He's what's your bidding, thy master? I feel like a lot of scenes throughout this entire movie are trying to be throwbacks to the original trilogy. Lastly, I feel like the ending of Rey returning back to Tatooine was meant to give the audience the feeling of, oh, we're going back to where we started, the 2 suns setting on Tatooine, which is basically in A New Hope when we first met Luke, which is the real reason why this movie exists in the first place. Also, the little touch of Rey calling herself a Skywalker, even though she's a Palpatine, is just trying to convey to us that she found her family and her home, even though she's not related to them at all. I mean, in the end, I guess Palpatine wins because the Skywalkers are truly dead. But at the same time, I guess she carries on their lineage, but not by blood. In this segment, I'm going to talk about what I did not like about the film and what made literally no sense to me. The first thing in this movie that made me say, oh no, was the scene where Rey and Kylo were force pulling that First Order ship back and forth, and then she blows it up with the Force lightning. I literally thought the entire movie was going to be this ridiculous since it was so close to the beginning of the film. But God. And then they go in to say that they killed Chewie. Oh no, Chewie's dead. And then literally the next scene, they're like, oh no, he's safe. I mean, any suspense that you were trying to build up in the previous scene literally just, went because you literally just tell us that, hey, he's safe, literally 5 seconds after the scene where we find out that he's dead. I mean, another scene that made me cringe was one where Hux reveals that he is the Resistance spy in the First Order. It just felt so forced and really made no sense at all because it's just random and out of nowhere. I mean, I guess when Poe and Finn were like, what? I mean, I guess that's what they were going for, but it just did not fit. In addition, the Knights of Ren should have been introduced earlier in the trilogy because they seemed very random and had literally no backstory. The fight between them and actual Kylo Ren really had no feeling or suspense since we didn't actually see them in action for 2 films. But I feel like Rise of Skywalker is pretty much trying to fix the entire trilogy in one movie, so I guess you can't have everything, Overall, I did really like the Death Star wreckage scene because you kind of got a feeling of what the aftermath would have been like after the, the Great War or whatever. But there were a few parts in this scene that made literally no sense. Just the mere fact that the dagger knows exactly where the Sith Pathfinder is in the wreckage, right where Rey is standing at the spot, is just so unbelievable. It pulls you out of the movie and you're like, what? It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. Like, I get it's a movie, but at the same time, like, I expect it to have some kind of logic that flows, and that just makes no sense. Also, the scene where Rey meets her dark side, and her dark side has, like, these super sharp teeth, it looked super corny. Even for Star Wars, like, I was like, ooh, you know? Gross. This is cringy. Lastly, for this scene, the part where Leia distracts Kylo, for me, it's just meh. I mean, she's trying to communicate with her son and bring him back to the light side, but like, if he was an actual serious Sith at all, he would not be distracted by his mother's Force vision, so I guess they were trying to go with Kylo's on the fence, but in the first half of the movie, he's a badass dark side user, but now he's back on the fence, you know, it just kind of skipped around a lot. Lightsaber scenes throughout this entire film are nothing to brag about and are nothing compared to the ones that George Lucas had in all previous films. I mean, I guess these have more energy than the ones in the original film, but I would expect that because the original film was old as shit. But still, like, you guys had so much energy, funding, and money. Can you at least make a cool, badass lightsaber scene that makes us feel suspense? Because I just felt like every lightsaber scene was just like Rey just throwing a lightsaber around. Like, there wasn't really any grace to it at all. And I mean, like, not saying that all people that use lightsaber, you know, all the Sith or whatever are graceful whenever they use their lightsaber, but at least give them like something besides just throwing it around. I mean, what Rey does, I could basically do. Not gonna brag, but I feel like I could do the same thing as her. And she's a Jedi, and I'm not. The ending of the movie had some memorable parts that were very disappointing. To start off, when fighting the Sith fleet, there's literally like 1 million ships that come out of hyperspace, and we're just like, okay, I guess there's 1 million ships that want to fight Palpatine. Like, I just feel like the way the CGI looked, it just kind of looked stupid. And it just didn't really look right. I'm not sure if anyone else felt the same way, but I was like, okay, like, there's a crap ton of ships. Like, how'd you guys all get here, you know? The space horses, I call them space llamas, just for the record. Attacking the top of the ship was just like, ooh, like cringe, you know? I was just like, ooh, this just doesn't look right. It doesn't make any sense either. Like, couldn't the ship just, like, slightly tip like a little bit to the side, and wouldn't they just all fall off? I mean, like, it is a film, so like, you got, you know, people won't think properly, but I just did not like that scene. Like, was it supposed to be for like, I don't know, like the kids or something? Like, are you guys trying to sell like little like space llama toys? One of the cringiest moments for me was when Rey responds to Palpatine with, "And I'm all the Jedi." It was just so cringy and corny. Like, I get, like, he's like, "I'm all the Sith," and she's like, "I'm all the Jedi, you know, we're in a fight." I just felt it was not right. There, in this scene where all the Jedi are, like, whispering to her, like, "Rey, Rey, Rey, get up, Rey, get up." Like, they were trying to make it kind of, like, inspirational and impactful, but I feel like it kind of just was, like, meh, you know, kind of flat. And you would think that Palpatine would have learned when he dueled Mace Windu that when Force lightning starts going back on you, that you should probably put your hands down and stop doing the unlimited power. I mean, it just was like a throwback to me to basically episode 3, where I'm just like, Mace Windu's like, "He's too dangerous to be kept alive." And, you know, I was just like, ugh, like, wouldn't Palpatine have learned? The CGI for his death was terrible as well. I don't know who did that. I don't know who okayed that. I was like, this is terrible looking. Like, I'm not saying, like, I want to see, like, his blood and flesh and all that shit, but at least make it look better. Lastly, the scene where Lando and the ex-Stormtrooper chick are talking, and Lando's like, "I'm from the blah-blah-blah-blah system," and then she says, "I don't know where I'm from," and Lando says, "Let's find out." Like, is Lando trying to hook up with the girl? Like, I don't think he's trying to, but I'm kind of getting the vibes that he's trying to. Or are they just trying to open that up for, like, another comic or movie or TV series or a book? I feel like that's what they're more leaning towards. But it just kind of left a big question mark, and I was just like, okay, I guess we're gonna find out where she's from, even though she only was on the screen for like 10 minutes, but I guess she's important now. But it was just strange having Lando say, "Let's find out," because Lando's this sexual character that's always trying to hook up with chicks, and I'm like, damn, like, that's a big age gap, you know? So now let me give you my final thoughts. Overall, I enjoyed the film the most out of all the movies in the new trilogy. I'm not saying that it's better. I kind of like the prequels better than this film, just because at least they made more sense and there was a story and, like, there wasn't as many plot holes. I thought the pacing of the film was good. It wasn't too long or too short. Like, there was always an action scene throughout the entire movie. And I feel like the reason for that is because the previous two films, Force Awakens and Last Jedi, didn't really explain that much. And this movie was trying to basically make a whole new plot because Palpatine wasn't actually meant to be in this series, actually, until they were making Rise of Skywalker. So I feel like if they had Palpatine's theme kind of throughout the first two films, it wouldn't have felt so rushed and like just random, but I feel like they were really trying to pull something to make it work. Overall, I would say good scenes outweighed the amount of bad scenes throughout the entire film, and I feel like the Kylo redemption and Palpatine's true end, he should be dead by now. If he's not dead by now, like, I don't know. I feel like that's actually a good ending to end the entire Skywalker saga, and I hope that Disney works on creating more content that is not about Skywalkers, because they're doing a good job with, like, Mandalorian, and I really liked Rogue One, and Han Solo wasn't that bad either. So I hope they do more content like that and just stay away from the Skywalkers. Just leave them be, please, Disney. Leave them be. So that is it for my review. If you liked it, thumbs up and subscribe and share it if you want. If you have any other comments or whatever, just please leave a comment below and I will respond. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay frosty and I'll see you in the next one.